I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Services and Aging Committee, Wednesday, November 2nd, and we're currently at 1:15. I apologize and thank you for your patience. Madam Clerk, if we could please have the roll call, please.
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll for Ms. Conwell,
Present.
Mr. Sweeney,
Present.
Ms. Turner,
Present.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. We have a quorum.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Stevens. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Even though we do not have to excuse from committees, we always like to do it as a state of protocol. Can we have anyone that is signed in for public comment to please
Yes,
come
Madam
up?
Chair, we have one person signed in for public comment. Lou?
Welcome, Ms. Lou.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And good to see some of the helpful legislation right now are on today's agendas. However, I would like to reemphasize the connection, the importance of our health and human services. Even most of the departments in the county is to offer health and human services, but actually we have been putting less effort on these important services rather than spending money on the things not really help the general public. For example, now we know Jane Edna Hunter Center, which is an important service, the children and family services there. However, the bad news we have heard from that building actually is the same thing just as I experience day after day at Hale. The only difference, those kids are still kids. They are under 18. When they are out of the age 18, guess where they will be? So same thing, today we have another legislation in the agenda for the Hale itself. However, the lack of the funding has always been the excuse not to do things really, really needed for everybody's good, no matter you look at a public safety or public health. The people with all different health issues, different personalities, different crises, all get scrammed up in such a space which was only made for offices. If you still think not to demolish that building to rebuild will resolve the issue, then I'm sorry to tell you, even after renovation, all this money, even you put a whole $4 million from the ARPA funds only for this one location, it will be totally wasted because you do not correct the fundamental issues about its plumbing, not fit for residential situation, the electrical system, not fit for that kind of environment either, which give the people working in that environment very big stress. And this is the reason why they can get sick easily because they have been so busy to handling all the issues within that small space, one after another. Basically, people came to shelter because they already got a crisis. Now, after you come to the shelter, you have even more crisis. This is a vicious cycle we do need to break. Just like we need to help the people break the vicious cycle in our judicial system. Please understand, we do need your help, your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lou. Has anyone else signed in for public comment?
There is no more public comment.
All right. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 19th, 2022 meeting. Can I have a motion to?
So moved.
Moved by Turner, seconded by
Second.
Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. We have several matters that are referred to our committee today, and so we will follow in order. Madam Clerk, if you could read the first item into the record, please.
Resolution 2022-0373, awarding a total sum not to exceed $50,000 to the Cleveland Clergy Alliance for the Stop the Violence Project from the District 10 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
All right. And who will be presenting in regards to this? Mr. Reverend Norris, you have to come up to the podium, state your name. If anyone else will be speaking, they'll have to do the same because we are streamed live.
Okay, thanks so much. Excuse me. Thank you, committee, for this opportunity.
State your name first.
Reverend Lorenzo Norris, Cleveland Clergy Alliance, President, CEO. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present to stop the violence. Presenting with me today is Mary Rice, the Vice President of East City Schools, and she's representing the school board as well as the superintendent. Also, Dr. Thomas Gilmore, the CFO of Cleveland Clergy Alliance as well. And first we'll begin with Mary Rice, Dr. Rice, this time.
Thank you very much. I just want to simply say,
State your name. Each of you have to state your name.
my name is Mary Rice. Okay, thank you. Just a few comments briefly. The Stop the Violence project is one that is definitely needed. We see that research with children, the first thing that we learn, if children learn violence, that's how they react. If they learn nonviolence, that's how they react. That behavior is a learned behavior. More than 60% of young people see a lot of violent action every day, just on television and in other social media functions. I know you've heard of the ACE is now. Children going back to school after being enclosed in houses for a year or two. When the schools began to open, as a retired educator, I know my phone began to ring almost every day. Educators calling, talking about their day, what happened. The majority of the time, the violent behavior that children were experiencing with each other, lack of socialization skills. How do children react to things that they don't like? They react violently. If ever a time for a nonviolence project, it is now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, let me just add, in terms of Stop the Violence, we're looking at a program that would mobilize and engage young youth and young adults. We're looking in the area of Chicago County Ward 10, including Cleveland Heights, East Cleveland, also Ward 10, 8, and 9 in Cleveland. This program would include a part-time director, 5 life coaches, 25 volunteers will assist in this program. The activity will, of course, include our anger management, remediations, remedial things. We will have guest speakers, field events, etc. In terms of this program. The program also will include working within the schools, Cleveland Heights as well as East Cleveland. Our goals is primarily to reach 750 youth in 12 months, to reduce gun violence and incarceration count of youth in program by 85%, decrease bullying, violence, suicide, homicide among youth in program, increase school attendance of youth in the program. Now, we have a large collaborative working with us in this program as well. The agencies are SOS, Strengthening Our Students, D.D. Williams, Minister Gail Reese, Ministries of Reconciliation, Adopt a School program in Cleveland throughout in many school districts. Many of you all know Gail Reese. Also, we have not only we have East Cleveland School, and we have the support of the school board, Una Keenan, Vice President Mary Rice, superintendents and that teachers and things to become involved in the programs as well. We also have as a partner the Peacemaker, Byron Phillips, an outreach worker. He also worked with Judge Sheen, adult court, and violence and intervention program. And Cordell Stokes, United Labor Program, along with Louis Moore. And we just brought that on because these young people, to get out of poverty, they need jobs. And we have partnered with them to connect these youth that in the program to do workforce development, job readiness skills, and to get them employment. Also, we have a number of churches. Pastor Edward Small, Star Lake Baptist Church, Pastor David Hunter, Bright Star Baptist Church, Pastor Dolly Finney, Omega Baptist Church, Pastor Steve Ron of the Baptist Church, Pastor Barso, Calvary Lutheran Church, and of course, Dr. Rodney Thomas, Imante Ministry, and many, many more churches would like to participate in this program. Now, Dr. Thomas Gilmore, my CFO, will come and talk about the breakdown financially of the program.
My name is Thomas Gilmore. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Cleveland Clergy Alliance. We would like to thank in advance the county for your support in this project. It's a tremendous project. We're only asking for a small amount of $50,000 from the county. 56% of that will go into actual programming. The rest will be for staffing, for the part-time administrator, and for the life coaches. But again, most of the money has to go towards the children because they're the ones we want to impact the most. We expect to expand the program and get additional funding from other foundations as we expand the program.
Any questions at this time? Glad to answer.
I think Dr. Gilmore covered a little bit of it. So just to be clear, and anyone else that is going after ARPA community grant funds, that this is a one-time funding from us. So he touched on a little bit where you would get, if you wanted to continue this program, that, where else would you get your continued funding to continue it? I'm assuming this is a new pilot.
We are. Thank you so much. We understand. We're in conversation with the corporate community as well, the Cavaliers Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and others. This is, and we all know violence in our community, and then nationally, what we're seeing. Just recently, there was a shooting on Lakewood, 123rd. The night we was carrying seniors to a senior night out with the Cavs. Several youths were shot and one was killed. And so we just, and all over the neighborhood. And this is a real serious issue, health issues, gun violence in our community. And we're already in conversation with other funding agencies. Thank you so much.
And how will you evaluate success of this program? How do you plan on doing your evaluation?
What we're doing now is meeting. We had put in, excuse me, we had started hoping to start the program before the fall when school began. So we've been waiting for 5 months. We know you guys been busy and everything else. But we is in conversation with Case there and also Cleveland State University. And what we plan to do is track students. We would put instruments in place to measure progress, such as attendance, their school grades, those that stay out of trouble, et cetera. So we're in the process of doing that. We would have had that for you today, but because of the lateness of time, but we'll get that to you. No
All
problem.
right. Also, I just want to, as a caveat, just let We have a couple of items in front of us for ARPA funds. They must go to 3 full readings, just to let everyone know. All right, I'm going to open it up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, my first question is, are the services to be provided to the families of the members of the participating congregations, or is it going to be a wider net than that?
It would be a wider net. Those programs in those churches will include the community as a whole. And not only that, Councilman, CCA, we will provide wraparound services for those families. There's a model in New York that what really works is lots of young people out there doing things to take care of mom and grandmama. But what we want to do is also go in the home. CCA has about 14 staff person navigators, and go and see what's the needs of those families, and to put wraparound services in that. Certainly we will, and you have my promise on that. We will be in the community.
And my second question is if you could describe a little bit more specifically what the actual services are that will be provided and how those services will help prevent violence.
What we have looked at in terms of, let me get my talking points, is we're looking at having guest speakers, some activities, but also what we're talking about is sitting down and working with those youth in terms of conflict resolution. Workshops will go on, anger management exercises. We will talk about anti-bullying. We identify signs and signals to throw out a violence act. These life coaches will work with them on a weekly and monthly basis in school and also in the churches. We plan to use church youth leaders that already work with youth, not only in the church, but also in the community, to carry out these programs. Of course, we will have a school will sponsor contests to engage youth in writing, poetry, essays, artwork, why and how to stop violence in their community. One of the reasons we pulled together a large collaborative because we wanted to make sure we had a team that had prior experience in dealing with youth already on the ground. So what we're doing is we're going to have those, for example, from the peacemakers to do work with those youth. They work with violent crime. They're on the site when there's shooting, etc. Adopt the School would already work with Stop the Violence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Are these students that you're primarily going to work with, are they identified as at-risk students?
We have several ways that students will be identified, but it's primarily in those school districts, and they can be identified by the administrators, the teachers, and even the students themselves can make those referrals. Usually, as I said, began my opening comments, if a student learns violent behavior, that violence will perpetuate itself immediately. We need those referrals. We need to get to those students as soon as possible before it becomes a detriment to their school. You know, suspensions, you know, when you get behind already in your schoolwork, then you don't feel like going back to school again readily. And that's why we want to begin right away with those referrals, with those students, getting them paired out with the navigators, getting them paired with individuals who can help them with their homes and their neighborhood. The faster we're able to begin to identify those behaviors and work with the students, the better. And it will be basically by referrals, but from each and every level.
Yeah, I'd like to just suggest, I know, University Hospital, they have a similar program. Not quite as involved in the schools, but they
Yes.
do, the families that they see that come through those doors, they help those that come in for gun violence shots or,
Yes.
anything like that. They work with them and getting them resources and things of that nature. So that would be a good group, I think, to partner with, since you're on a similar track.
Yes.
Maybe you guys can,
That sounds exciting to me.
Connect.
And you said that's University Hospital.
University Hospital.
By all means.
I'm sure Cheryl will be able to. That's
Sure.
Dr. McDavid is over that program. Is that Dr. McDavid back there? Yeah, right. See, I didn't even know you were here. And see, I'm supporting you.
Fantastic. Thank you for
So
that.
definitely make that connection with them. They do a similar program. I've heard the presentation. It's very good because, when those individuals come into the hospital and all that
Yes.
negative violence, you can't let it go. You have to continue outside those doors to correct that behavior so it's not. So please
And that's the
connect
one
with
great
Dr.
thing about our program as well. There are many different resources that we can tap into to provide additional services. And thank you definitely for that resource.
All right, any other questions from my committee? Councilwoman Turner.
I want to thank you first and foremost for taking on this very sensitive issue. It's so many messages being presented to our young people daily, and we need to disrupt the system. And I just had a question about your additional funding sources. So as the councilwoman said, these are one-time dollars for this program. Are these requests for more funding in motion already? Have you received any responses from like the Cleveland Foundation or the Gun Foundation, et cetera? Where are you in this process of receiving additional fundings to sustain a very important effort that you have embarked on?
Good questions. We was working with county, and once hopefully we received dollars, then we was in conversation. We have because of CCA, and we represent over 100 churches through East and West Side. We have a lots of connection with lots of funders, but we're gradually in beginning that process. Like I said, and I want to be quite honest with you, we wanted to jump on this because violence was up in Collinwood, Shaw, all over Wandsville earlier, and we just now beginning. When James Boyd called, I said, praise God, excuse me, thank you, hallelujah, because we need to get back to helping our children, our youth, and community. So I was just overjoyed. So we're really, getting the ball rolling again. You got to get directors and things in place. I want to be honest, but you can be assured that this program will have an impact because of the collaboratives and the many partners that is willing to work, and we will, I can assure you, give me another month and I'll be glad to come back and tell you we got more funding.
Perfect. That was
Okay?
my next ask,
Okay.
is to keep us in a loop.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Can I add to that answer?
You can answer whatever you want.
We're at the end of the year, so most people, their funding is already in place. And so any additional funding we get will be for 2023 as we allow those funders to put us into their budget.
Thank you. Reverend. First and foremost, thank you for these efforts here, this team that you're putting together. And it can't be any more simple than stop the violence. Very direct. Everybody understands it. And what I see through my chairwoman is this $50,000. I don't really want, I'm not processing it as one-time money. It's this time money because I'm seeing how you presented it now. This is going to be the pilot program, the seed money. You have established something. and it's easier to go out to ask for more dollars. Would that be?
Yes, we're already in conversation with juvenile court.
Yeah.
We met with the deputy director and the person that runs the detention home about a month ago, and they have dollars, but they're waiting on what we do here. Yeah.
And through the chair,
Right.
I just see this as a wonderful, extraordinary effort. And it's more of a volunteer scenario that $50,000 is going to put somebody in charge or a point person to be able to execute all the resources that are out there. When you bring up Pastor Phillips and Cordell Stewart, they know the streets more than most. And and Cheryl Stevens should be applauded to bring this to the entire council, to have this maybe emulated even more throughout Cuyahoga County. So I'm just here to help any way I can, and I think it's absolutely necessary and important, and I have all the faith and confidence that when this gets started, we're going to be very thankful that it did. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thanks so much.
All right, putting this before the vote, I'd like to have a motion for R2022-0373 to move to the full council under second reading.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Turner, seconded by Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Could
Thank
you add
you.
my name, if you don't mind?
And
Thanks
Madam
so
Clerk,
much.
please add Councilman Sweeney's name
To the chair, please add my
and
name.
Councilwoman Turner. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Resolution 2022-0374, awarding a total sum not to exceed $100,000 to the Journey Center for Safety and Healing for general operations from the District 10 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Let's all be mindful of the time. We didn't start to 1:15. We can't run over. I do believe there's another committee at 3, so let's just all be mindful of that. Next, please come up.
Thank
State your
you.
name for the record.
Melissa Graves. I have the honor of serving as the CEO at Journey Center. Thank you, Committee Chair Conwell and council members, for inviting me here today for this opportunity and for your leadership in public service. I am honored to hold this position and represent Journey here today. We provide comprehensive services to nearly 15,000 women and children and men across the county who are experiencing domestic violence and child abuse. Our services offer safety, healing, and breaking cycles. Our specific programs, we offer the only domestic violence emergency shelter in Cuyahoga County. We operate a 24-hour helpline for anybody in experiencing any form of abuse. Therapy, support groups, victim advocacy, supervised visitation, a Latina DV project, and prevention and community education in community education. Journey also works to bring systemic change. Right now, we're offering training to law enforcement on how to best respond to domestic violence calls, which we know make up the highest percentage of calls to 911 and are some of the most dangerous and volatile situations. Journey's DV experts are conducting training with court and law enforcement personnel across the county. This evidence-based tool is called the Danger Assessment for Law Enforcement, or the DALE. It is for law enforcement officers responding to the scene of a domestic violence call, and it helps determine which situations are most likely to escalate to homicide, and then connecting them immediately to Journey Center's wraparound services and supports. After piloting the program in Cleveland Police Districts 1 and 5, we have since trained all the Cleveland Police Departments, have trained 13 suburban law enforcement and court personnel, with 8 more scheduled by June of 2023. Thank you for considering this request for $100,000 to enhance support for adults and children experiencing domestic violence. This funding will allow us to hire an advocate that will provide life-saving support. Journey currently has only 6 victim advocates working in all of the suburban municipality courts, as well as domestic relations courts, excuse me. They have caseloads of more than 250 each. These caseloads are too high, and as we continue to implement the DALE across the county, there will be more high-risk victims that need our support. As you know, COVID was an incredibly dangerous time for survivors who were isolated at home with an abuser, and we continue to see that impact today. We have seen that abuse escalated both in frequency and in severity. We have victims coming to us with more extreme injuries than we've seen, coming sometimes immediately from the emergency room, with complex mental health and substance abuse issues after long periods of isolation, lack of medication, and supportive services. Our team, just to give you an example, our team does in-depth danger assessments with every client. Prior to COVID, the average danger assessment on a scale of 20 was 16.7, which is quite high risk. During COVID and continuing to this day, the average danger assessment is 19.6, which is extremely high risk that that case will escalate to homicide or a near lethal attack. So this funding will be incredibly crucial in helping to have another advocate available to survivors experiencing domestic violence in our county.
All right, so Director, this is, this 100,000, if you could break it down. One is for, some of it, the funding is for an advocate, and what else?
So that $100,000, that will fund an advocate, along with all of the benefits, cell phone, laptop, mileage, everything that is involved, supervision, and the bulk, and then any remaining will help us provide initiatives like the danger assessment for law enforcement. We will be in 8 additional communities over the course, like I said, between now and June.
Okay, if you could provide the committee, not right now, but provide us later in writing what all the communities that will be covered.
Yes.
And what is being added on. And you're clear that these are one-time funds that we are allowed to do. Can you speak a little to how do you continue to, how do you plan on continuing to fund that additional advocate?
Absolutely. So I think you're all aware that during this time of increased need, we were also experiencing extreme cuts at the federal level. VOCA, Victims of Crime, is our #1 source of public funding, our #1 source of funding. And over the last 3 years, that was cut by $1.1 million. So we really see these ARPA funds as critical bridge funding that's going to allow, we had to cut 10 FTEs with that cut in federal funds. We see this as incredibly important bridge funding to help rebuild the capacity to serve our current dire need in the county while we continue to replace those VOCA funds after ARPA is no longer available. And how we're doing that, Congress has what they're calling a VOCA fix. They have passed it now. For FY23, our VOCA funds were held steady. They weren't decreased anymore, although we're at these very low levels. So the hope is that the VOCA fix will come into play and will rebuild over the course of the next couple and few years. We don't know how quickly or how much those funds are going to rebound, but at the federal level, they are working to rebound those VOCA funds. And in the meantime, our development team is doing a lot of fabulous work around diversifying our funding. We've increased our individual major donors. The philanthropic community in Cleveland is very supportive of our organization, and we are also exploring other state and federal funding to replace any ARPA funding that we receive in the current couple of years.
All right, open it up to my committee. Councilman Miller.
Just want to say that I strongly support your program. It's one of the most important problems that we deal with in our community, and I'm pleased to report that in addition to this, that through District 2, that we're going to provide some money for some urgently needed capital improvements for your facility.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, seeing none, hearing none. Thank you, Director. You know how I feel. It's near and dear to my heart, and it should be for everyone that's in this chambers today. Abuse and violence toward anyone is just not unacceptable, and we heard in our previous ARPA grant proposal that it's all connected. Stop the violence, you know, any way that we can, and try to give people longevity on their lives. So I would ask for a motion for R2022-0374.
So moved.
Moved by Miller, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
If you could add my name to it, please. Thank you. Thank you,
My name as
Director.
well, Madam Chair, may I say something?
Yes.
Before the young lady, can you come back for a second? I just
Director
wanted-
Graves, go right ahead.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that just this past Saturday, well, actually Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, the Greater Cleveland Alumni Chapter, participated with the Journey Center in making phone calls to the 8 Senate Judiciary Committee members trying to continue to move Aisha's law forward. Aisha was in our sorority. She was my line sister. And I just wanted to just add for the record how important this issue has been for me personally. And thank you for all the work that you and your staff do to help people.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair,
Yes, Councilman Miller.
I would also like my name added.
Councilman Miller, Sweeney, the whole committee. It's added on. All right. And Madam Clerk, you can read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2022-0382, amending the 2022-2023 biennial operating budget for 2022 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations from the general fund and other funding sources, for appropriation transfers between budget accounts and for cash transfers between budgetary funds to meet the budgetary needs of the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services.
Good afternoon, David Merriman, Director of the Department of Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. Madam Chair, before you is an appropriation request to enable the Division of Children and Family Services to bring forward a contract with Canopy to provide services that we'll be referring to as Child Protection Team. Madam Chair, because this is an appropriation request, we're not preparing to talk in detail about the contract or procurement. So what I want to do is I want to cede my time. We have several physicians here and administrators from a number of hospitals. You've already heard Dr. Lalita McDavid is here on behalf of University Hospital. I know that Dr. Jennifer Baylett is here, as well as Dr. Aparna Roy. We also have an administrator here from the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, and then a commander from the Cleveland Police Department, Commander Pillow. So what I'd like to do is I want to turn it over to Jennifer to make a PowerPoint. Before I do that, I do want to just check to make sure, and if any of these providers have hard conflicts at 2, I want to invite them to come forward to make sure they can share their testimony and their comments. After we've wrapped up their comments, I'll ask Jennifer Johnson to come forward. I know that Gabriella Celeste, who is leadership on the Child Welfare Advisory Board, also has a hard conflict of 2. So I want to open it up to see if any of the providers have to go first. I'm seeing shakings of head no. Jennifer, Gabriella, did you want to go? Sure. So what I'd ask for each of them as you come forward, please introduce your name, the organization you're with, and what role you're presenting on.
Thanks, David. Good afternoon. My name is Gabriella Celeste. I'm Madam Chair Yvonne Conwell, Vice Chair Martin Sweeney, and members of the committee. Thanks for the opportunity to say a few words in support of the proposal to adopt a countywide coordinated child protection team. I'm here actually as a member of the DCFS Advisory Board. As you know, our advisory board was created in 2019 as part of the set of recommendations from community stakeholders after the death of Anaya Day Garrett. We were made up of 10 community volunteers who were approved by County Executive Budish and this county council with a mission to serve as a link with the community in order to provide independent perspective and feedback to the county and DCFS leadership. And in this capacity, we have advocated for several system changes for the safety and well-being of children and families in our county. Many of those were listed in Madam Chair's actually letter to us as an advisory board. Today, we're here in support of one of those calls to action, the need for a more comprehensive, coordinated approach for early identification and treatment of child abuse in order to strengthen overall prevention and protection of children. You'll hear more, I'm sure, about that today. We urge the support of a countywide medical child protection team, one that ensures cross-system collaboration with early warning mechanisms for child abuse detection and identification, improved referral, protection, and follow-up of cases, and coordinated information sharing across medical institutions and social service agencies to help prevent and reduce child abuse and neglect, both physical and medical, in real time. This support from the advisory board comes from nearly a year-long engagement with the county and community partners who brought this effort to our attention as early as December 2019, when a staff member of the county's Office of Early Childhood Invest in Children presented the CPT concept to our board as a recommendation coming out of the Child Fatality Review Board process. And after hearing from physicians at UH, Rainbow Babies, and Metro Health, as well as the Canopy Executive Director, our board agreed to seek assistance to study this model further. The Schubert Center for Child Studies at Case Western offered to convene a planning group to provide guidance for the research and crafting of a white paper to better understand various models of a system-wide child protection. Some of our members served on that planning group as well, along with several other colleagues from medical doctors with experience in child abuse and neglect, like Dr. McDavid, county agency partners, Canopy, and other researchers from Case Western. Ultimately, this process and the final white paper released in April of last year provided a better understanding of the various features of different kinds of child protection type models and recommendations for consideration given our county's unique assets and needs. While our advisory board has not been part of the response to the county RFP, we're very encouraged to learn that the three major hospital systems, UH, Metro Health, and the Cleveland Clinic, have agreed to submit a collaborative proposal in partnership with Canopy to create a coordinated CPT for our county. As a new approach requiring significant systems coordination, we expect more remains to be done in terms of final design, specs, and implementation. We also support the inclusion of community members with experience and knowledge of child-serving programs to serve an advisory role to Canopy and the medical and law enforcement partners in this ongoing development and rollout of the project. Finally, I just want to say, ultimately, we believe the driving goal of this effort is to not only prevent future child tragedies, but to help ensure families have the needed supports to help raise their children in loving, safe, and stable homes. And we urge the County Council to support this innovative proposal. And thank you again for the opportunity to share our thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do understand that there are several other items on the agenda for today, so we'll limit our presentation, the balance of our presentation to, or we'll cede it to Jennifer Johnson on behalf of Canopy. I do want to close in stating I do want to request that this item be passed in second reading suspension and ask to have it back on the next agenda. So let me go ahead and invite Jennifer to come forward and to walk us through a PowerPoint. One other acknowledgement. I do understand, because we have a number of providers in the room, that there are times that as physicians they get called in to consult and to handle emergencies. And so I do want to just acknowledge to them, if something happens and you do have to leave, we invite you to come forward and present your comment and your testimony before stepping out. Thank you.
Hi there. It's on the screen.
Can you hear me now? I'm Jennifer Johnson from Canopy Child Advocacy Center. We are a national model that's utilized to reduce the experience of and outcomes of child abuse with victims of child abuse. There's over 1,000 centers in the United States, and Canopy is Cuyahoga County's Child Advocacy Center. So our mission is to focus on providing a single location for kids and families that have experienced child abuse to come to one space where they can receive all the services that they need. Instead of having to go to a police station where they fear what may happen to them if they talk about what has happened, or in a hospital setting where it can feel chaotic or scary, or in a children's services building, they're able to come to one child-friendly place where they're able to receive all of the services that they need. That doesn't mean that we don't still work with community partners, and you'll hear from our community partners here in a little bit. It means that we bring the community partners to us so that we can have one place for the child and family to come that feels less threatening and less intimidating, where they're able to receive all of the services in one place. We have an on-site medical suite, which we're going to utilize to help deliver this project, which I'll talk further about. Perfect. Okay. So as you can see in the picture, Child Advocacy Center without a CAC all of the services are attempting to be provided, such as law enforcement, talking with the child, medical talking with the child welfare having to talk with the child separately. And if you look at the visual to the right, the Child Advocacy Center puts the child and family in the middle, and then it wraps all of those services around them. Our mission is to focus on serving children and families through a multidisciplinary partnership that works to respond to child abuse and ensure that children and families have all of the opportunities that they can have to experience safety, healing, and well-being. So as you heard from Gabriela Celeste, there was a Children's Services Advisory Board that was put together back in 2018. I believe that was co-sponsored by you, Councilwoman Conwell, so thank you for that. This advisory board, part of their responsibility is to work on making recommendations and exploring opportunities that could help improve the response to victims of child abuse in Cuyahoga County. And they put together a project with the Case Western Reserve University through the Schubert Center that investigated opportunities for improvement when it came to responding to victims of child abuse, primarily victims of severe physical abuse. Sometimes when those cases are not responded to in a comprehensive way, the unfortunate result is child fatality. So they worked with Invest in Children and the Child Fatality Review Board to do some research about what models could be best to bring to Cuyahoga County that could help respond and improve the ability to share information and wrap around and provide services to victims of child abuse, specifically the physical abuse. When they did that, they produced this white paper that you have copies of in folders that were shared with you, and I can get you if you need further information, that talks about the identification of a child protection team and the lack of a child protection team that's comprehensive that exists in Cuyahoga County, and a need to bring that here and have that model here for the county. That information was shared with the Cuyahoga County Executive and Children's Services, and that caused them to produce a request for proposal, which you see on the bottom part of the slide. And that request for proposal was issued last fall, where they requested organizations to consider applying and putting forth a proposal to bring a child protection team model here to Cuyahoga County. Canopy Child Advocacy Center worked with Metro Health Systems, University Hospitals, and the Cleveland Clinic Foundation together to present a united front in a response to the proposal, saying that we would come together to provide services for these victims of child abuse, and responded to the proposal and were selected by Cuyahoga County's administration to deliver this service. I'm sure you guys know the data since you're the Health and Human Services Committee, but in 2021, there were 12,289 calls to the county child abuse hotline that were screened in for concerns of abuse, and over 58% of those were physical abuse. In 2019, there were 11 child fatalities, 11. And in the years prior, there were 8 and 9. Referrals for child abuse and neglect from last year are on par to be on the same trends and the same amounts for this year, because we're heading towards the end of 2022. And the time and the need for this service is now if we want to work to save lives. Since November 2018, Canopy has been open and operating. We were spun out from Journey Center for Safety and Healing. You heard Melissa speak earlier from that organization. And to date, we have seen 2,157 children. We currently only serve 12 and under sexual abuse victims and human trafficking victims up through ages 21 purely because of capacity. Child advocacy centers across the country see all victims of sexual abuse up through 21 and often see victims of physical abuse as well. So our request is to expand the current services that we're providing to the severe physical abuse population. We won't even come close to serving that 53% of that 12,000, but our proposal that we're putting forth and we've provided to the county administration includes $2 million for year one and $2 million for year two to bring together university hospitals, the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, Metro Health Systems, and the providers that currently work with Canopy to respond to up to 1,000 victims of severe physical abuse. We would increase our hours of operations through this funding. Currently, we operate Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 to 7, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 8 to 4. And our goal would be to increase Canopy's hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday with this funding, as well as ensuring that we have the medical suite running 5 days a week. We currently have a fully staffed or fully running medical suite, but it is not staffed. It's only operated 1 day a week by the Cleveland Clinic Foundation. And there's no funding for that. They provide that to Canopy in kind one day a week to currently see the kids that we have coming in right now. You've already heard from Gabriella Celeste. I have several of our community partners here to, number one, talk about their prior experience with Canopy and the current victims we're serving, and then number two, speak about their commitment to this work and the partnership that they have. I have asked them all to keep their comments from 1 to 3 minutes because I know that you're mindful of your time. So I'm going to go ahead and invite them up to speak. Commander Ali Pillow from the Cleveland Division of Police.
And they should state their name. Everyone, please state your name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Ali Pillow. I'm a commander with the Cleveland Division of Police. I oversee the Bureau of Special Investigations. As a commander of the Bureau of Special Investigations, I oversee homicide, sex crimes, domestic violence, child abuse, and financial crimes and crime scene. All of the partners and entities you've heard speak today requesting funding, all of those entities impact me. In particular, Canopy. Canopy has been an invaluable partner to our sex crimes and child abuse unit. One of the main things that they do is they provide an environment conducive to interviewing children. At our homicide unit at the Justice Center, through no one's fault, that area is not conducive to that. With the individuals that we have coming through and detectives coming in and out, this environment provides children a quiet, safe space where we can just focus on the child and their parents, explaining the process in an uninterrupted atmosphere, and that's invaluable to us. I've been a commander there for a year, and in work with my sex crimes detectives, all of the men and women tell me that they don't know how we did this without Canopy before. When we look at what we do now to what we did 5 years ago, it's inconceivable that we would ever go back to that. The ability to talk to these children, the forensic interviews that are supplied, are best practices across the country. In working with Canopy, we've received formal as well as informal training with the ability and the tools to investigate these cases without re-traumatizing the victims. For years, the Division of Police has struggled with that, and Canopy has really provided us the tools to move forward without doing that. And then from a personal perspective, as an investigator and as a supervisor of investigations, I can tell you that the ability to focus on the investigation, knowing that the wraparound services that children need are right there. Not just saying, hey, it's DCFS, but having a personal relationship with the advocates and the interviewers and the staff there, knowing that, I'm going to work on this case and these kids are in good hands is really beneficial to the investigators, the families, and to the investigations. I could talk about this for hours. I want to be respectful of time with everyone. But again, I just want to leave letting you know that this program in place, and Cleveland is behind on getting here. But we are here now, and it has made a huge difference, and it is very important to us. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry, were there any questions for me? Thank you very much.
And you said Bureau of Sex Crimes, correct?
Bureau of Special Investigations.
Special Investigations.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, thank
But it includes sex crimes and child abuse unit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew Golish is not here, but instead, we're going to have Melissa Graves from Journey Center for Safety and Healing. Melissa has been overseeing our separation into our own organization as a 501c3. She just resigned as a board member of Canopy, and she currently is an active community partner with us.
I'll be brief. Melissa Graves, Journey Center for Safety and Healing. Journey convened the partners originally that launched Canopy Child Advocacy Center in 2018, and we continue to be a partner. And I've been in the room, I've been at the table with all of the multidisciplinary partners and seen how much more effective it is in moving a case through and less traumatic it is for the families. Journey provides therapy and victim advocacy that get referred to us by Canopy. So we are honored to have been a part of making this resource possible in Cuyahoga County and remain a really committed partner to this model and to the success of this organization. Thank you.
So, Director, you provide therapy
Correct.
Okay, so we could talk later. I'm on a
Okay.
time crunch, so
Okay.
I can get in my soapbox
And the
sometime.
advocate I was talking about earlier is very apart and separate completely from any of the partnership that we do with Canopy. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Jennifer Baylett, Metro Health. And Dr. Aparna Roy, Metro Health.
Hi there.
I'm Dr. Baylett. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for Metro Health Hospitals.
Hi, I'm Aparna Roy. I'm the Chair of Pediatrics at Metro Health Hospital.
So in many towns, there's one children's hospital, and that makes it really easy for all the agencies to come together and get the information they need. Metro and Cleveland Clinic and UH are a blessing on this community, but it is divided blessing, right? And it's sometimes hard to coordinate. We have come together, the three systems, over the last year and a half or so, and put together this program that the children of this community can be put in the center, that the red tape that is created with HIPAA laws and privacy laws and hospital kinds of things won't get in the way of what we need to do to provide protection for our children. And we can do that all through the good work of Canopy and under the umbrella of Canopy. So there will be resources from all hospitals at the center. We will try to cut through a lot of the red tape that often slows down the DCFS and the police and everybody else trying to get the right records and complete records. And we think that we can begin to make a difference for the children in this community.
Thank you.
Dr. Lolumi David. University Hospitals, but you're aware.
Hi, I'm Lolly McDavid, and I'm Medical Director of Child Advocacy and Protection at Rainbow Babies and Children's. I didn't know I was going to get some new business when I got down here, but this is good. No, that's great.
It shows I don't forget anything, right?
You are the woman. So Rainbow has been involved with what is now Canopy since its inception. The United Way of Greater Cleveland actually gave a grant to allow a group of us to come together to try to put together a child advocacy center. Cleveland is actually the last major city in the country that does not have a freestanding child advocacy center. So I've been involved both when I was at Metro and now at UH with doing this kind of work. And it really is good to have one place. It's really child-centered. The child doesn't get interviewed by multiple people. They're interviewed one time. It can be taped. Commander can sit outside and watch what's going on and send in questions if he has other questions that they can do. And so there are other places that have brought this together. For instance, in Chicago, Lurie Children's in Cook County, which is a county hospital and the Northwestern's hospital, they have found a way to work together. But I think we can work together probably even better than they've done there. So it's new. It's a way for us to do things. We are three separate institutions. But we spent a lot of time. It was supposed to be, I think, 1 year planning. Ended up being 3 years of planning because we kept going on. And I think we're at a good place now. And I really believe that this is best for children. We will continue, obviously, to see children who come into our emergency room, and we provide those kinds of services. We're involved in many things, sex trafficking, children who have been put out on the street. But this will also enhance the services that we do at Rainbow.
Thank you.
Councilman Miller, I remember having you up on the roof of University Hospitals when you came to see our helicopter landing pad. You made me nervous.
All right, thank you.
Mary Thibault from the Cleveland Clinic Foundation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Thibault, and I'm so sorry, is that incorrect? Oh, go ahead. Fine. I didn't even notice. No problem. I get all kinds of introductions. So I am one of the primary care administrators at Cleveland Clinic. So I'm actually here on behalf of Kim Giuliano. And I just want to say that this effort here is truly a multidisciplinary effort. The strengths that each health system brings to the table is phenomenal. And as far as, providing medical services within the suite, it's been a great, we're operational 1 day per week, definitely not enough. And from what I hear, the experience has been very well received. So our EDs have heard about this Canopy Suite, and it's really nice for them to be able to refer. Of course, they're always asking for some, more time for us to be able to refer into the Canopy Suite. But I just want to mention that, again, it's been a pleasure working with Metro UH and Canopy, Jennifer, and her leadership in really developing the relationships. I think it's been about 2 to 3 years now. So it's been very, very foundational work that our county needs. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
William Lipscomb, Canopy's board president.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Lipscomb. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of Canopy Child Advocacy Center. I just want to give you a little historical perspective because I tried to start a child advocacy center in 1990. And back then, we just could not get this multidisciplinary team together. It was very frustrating at the time. It took a step forward when Stephanie Tubbs Jones became the county prosecutor. But then we still couldn't get it together. And then, of course, she went on and was elected to Congress. But anyhow, I've followed the process ever since. I think that in the time that, in the 25 years, is children. We recently took the step of seeking accreditation from the National Center of Children Advocacy Centers. And we just had a meeting last week with the 2 reviewers who came to look at our program. They had such glowing comments. They thought that everything that we were doing was just brilliant. And I really expected them to have some negative comments, tell us things that we could work on, but they had nothing of that. They just thought we had accomplished so much in the 4 years that we've been operating. We want to do more. The only thing that's missing, of course, is money at this point. We've been able to cobble together funds from the Victims of Crime Act, the Department of Justice, and foundations and individuals here in Cleveland. I will tell you that most of the foundations and individuals always say, well, where's the county in all of this? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it is true that these CACs around the country get much of their funding from their county governments. And so I just want to let you know that our Board of Trustees is solidly behind this effort. As I said, we want to do more for the abused children of Cuyahoga County. And please seriously consider our request.
Bill, what is you said Department of Justice, and what was the other one?
Victims of Crime Act.
Okay, VOCA.
And we've gotten significant funding from the Cleveland Foundation and the Gun Foundation. But as you know, after you get 3 or 4 years of funding from them, they always say, wait a sec, we're not here to provide ongoing funding, and you should be able to, branch out at this point. But I think we're ready for that and eager to do more, as I said.
I very much appreciated the historical perspective. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
I'm going to close with David Merriman to represent, obviously he put forth this request, but he also oversees Children's Services. Children's Services is intrinsically involved with what we do, so he'll speak to that, and then I'll come back up for any questions, as will any of the partners that are ready to answer questions if you have any.
I just want to close on representing Jacqueline Fletcher. Jackie Fletcher is the interim director of DCFS. She was not available to join us today. I know she intended to and strongly supports this project. DCFS is charged with addressing any reported instances of abuse or neglect. They are clear partners of Canopy. They use the service frequently for interviews, for investigations, and on occasion just to have a play space for children that have been stuck in the building. So they are an absolute partner of ours. Well, I think I just close on also the one other recognition. I think the contract that we'll be bringing forward to council will be a 2-year $4 million contract. The appropriation in front of you is for $1.8 million a year, or $3.6 million. County Executive Armin Budish will be contributing other additional funds out of his ARPA dollars. And so you've heard $2 million a year. The appropriation request in front of you is for $1.8 million per each year. And I wanted to speak to the discrepancy. I also want to acknowledge this is a pilot. This will serve about 50% of the kids that probably need this service. Around 1,000 kids a year. There's probably 2,000 or so that need it. But even though this is a 4-year running program, I think the funding at this point will be for 2 years. There'll be an option year at $1.8 million, and then we'll have some decisions to make moving forward. So on that, I'm just going to invite Jennifer back up to see if there are questions.
All right, I don't think. Can you please describe the methodology for how you attain the 4E reimbursability?
Yeah, absolutely. So for folks that don't understand, 4E is one of the federal funding streams that come to the Division of Children and Family Services. To be able to receive 4E reimbursement from the federal government, you have to show that the child is a candidate for custody, for foster care. And naturally, Canopy is investigating or supporting the investigation of incidences of abuse or neglect. We want to spend the first year assessing how many children are in fact in either DCFS custody or are at risk of going into custody. We're not going to assume that every child that is a victim of abuse or neglect will end up in custody. So this first year is really critical for us to see where that alignment is. When the alignment is there and the child is a candidate for foster care, then we provide the service and then request reimbursement. This will most likely involve a report coming from Canopy to us to say these are the children that were served, us validating that they're on our caseload, there's a case plan, and that they're a candidate, and from there from us requesting federal reimbursement from the state of Ohio.
And what other funding sources will you use for the children who are not 4E reimbursable?
We're fronting this out of Health and Human Service levy dollars and ARPA. And so that the money for 4E reimbursement requires that there be a funding source up front, and then the reimbursement can be requested.
What will the funding costs entail on the annual basis? Is this for administrative costs or direct services provided to the children?
For the upfront cost, I'll speak to that, and I'll ask Jennifer to focus more on the administrative cost of the direct service. This is a 2-year contract for $4 million. That breaks out to $2 million a year for the first 2 years. There is an optional year that will be included in the contract for year 3 that will be $1.8 million.
62% of the total funding is for direct services that go directly to the victims, and then the other percentage of the funding is related to administrative services. Part of those administrative services are for data collection, medical records, information sharing, and the administrative aspects of the work that we're going to really need to do to make sure that the work is working. But there is, like I said, 62% of the funding will also be one-on-one direct services with the children.
Okay, outside the initial $2.2 million of ARPA funding, is the administration making future commitments to spending levy dollars, and how will this program be sustained?
The third year of the contract will be entirely out of levy dollars, so we do expect that to come forward. I think that this project is already a success. I find the testimony today demonstrates how compelling it is to our community partners, and most importantly, how critical it is to the children that need the services and the families. This is presented as a pilot contract, and for 2 years of funding with a third option year. I absolutely believe it will exceed expectations. They will serve more children than the funding will be provided. Those children will be better served, and our county will have a better system in place. That being said, this is a 3-year contract.
And has the administration explored any other potential funding?
We have. We've talked to the state of Ohio about this program. We've also looked for other funding sources at the national level. I worked with Jennifer Johnson to seek an earmark request, trying to draw direct federal funding. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful.
Is that something that you can revisit at a future budgets or whatever?
Absolutely. I think we're going to continue to pursue all sources of funding for this possible.
Okay, I guess this is a question for Jennifer. Will the medical court law enforcement personnel be stationed at the facility full-time?
So the medical personnel will be there full-time, 5 days a week. The court personnel and the law enforcement personnel aren't stationed at Canopy, but they come on site anytime we have forensic interviews, and Commander Pillow can speak to that. Their funding is separate from other tax dollars and different sources, but they regularly are on site. CDP, the Cleveland Division of Police, is at the center 74% of all of our current operation hours as it is right now, and they're not stationed, they just come when we have a case. And the prosecutors and the court staff do the same, and medical will be there 5 days a week.
Okay.
If I could also speak on that matter, yesterday afternoon, we had a meeting in this chamber with area police departments, speaking about a memorandum of understanding between DCFS and law enforcement. Every department was given a copy of the Canopy MOU and the services that are provided out of Canopy. Several of them spoke to the importance of it, that the site, just as Commander Pillow recognized, we could not imagine providing services to children outside the site right now. I think it has already become a critical component of our safety net for Cleveland, but also for the balance of the county.
Can you provide any projected hours, if not full-time availability?
For the medical personnel,
Yes.
Dr. Baylett, Metro Health is going to be managing the contract with the other health systems for this part of the project, so I'll let her speak to that.
So we anticipate, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, with some flexibility for families who are coming late or exams that take longer.
So the hospital, just trying to get a little clearer understanding, so 8 to 5, your office will be open. I know hospitals are already open. So medical staff will be on site at your, okay.
Canopy from 8 to 5, and then Canopy is looking to expand their hours of operation to be more hours in the morning and more hours at night as well. That won't be with the medical suite, but we'll be able to accommodate other families.
Okay, so if a parent or family member took a kid to Metro in the emergency room, how would that follow up?
Yeah. So when the child's seen in the emergency room, obviously their urgent medical needs are taken care of. The assessments are made for safety, call to DCFS if that's warranted. And then if there needs to be follow-up, there's a follow-up referral mechanism within Metro Health, within the medical record, to send the child to Canopy. An appointment would be made. The family would follow up through Canopy.
Okay.
And we would still provide all the other services, including victim advocacy, mental health services, and everything else, and do the forensic interview.
I was going to say that, okay. What is the population you currently serving?
12 and under sexual abuse in 33 of the 58 suburbs in Cuyahoga County, and up to age.
Did you say 33 or 38?
33. So 12 and under sexual abuse, and then up to 21 for victims of human trafficking.
Many of those referrals are from DCFS, correct?
Or law enforcement. 90% of them, I'd say, are from CCDCFS. They're required to cross-report to one another when there's been concerns of a crime that's committed or child abuse.
Okay, so right now, currently, you're open just 1 day a week?
The medical suite is open 1 day a week. We're open 5 days a week, but we have a medical suite there. It's only being used 1 day a week because we only have the Cleveland Clinic Foundation providing that to us in kind 1 day a week.
Okay, I'll open this up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller?
Do we have an estimate on how much of the money we believe might be 4E reimbursable?
We do not at this time. I think we've learned the lesson that we need to see a period to establish a baseline. As Jennifer just said, 90% of the referrals come from DCFS. 4E eligibility requires that a case plan be executed, that the parent has signed the case plan, the child is a candidate for foster care, and that there are certain evidence-based interventions provided in association with it. You know, in many ways, 4E is a very restricted program, although it intends to have more of a preventative effect. There are many hoops you have to jump through. So I think it's critical for us to launch, gather information, build this out in partnership with the state of Ohio, and then we'll have a clear baseline.
The second question I have to whoever feels most appropriate to answer it is about the intersection between the child protection system and the legal system. Obviously, child abuse has to be dealt with, but but if one or more of the child's parents are in jail, that certainly has huge impacts on the family, and I just would like some understanding of how you try to navigate that.
Let Jennifer add to my response, but I would say it depends. You're absolutely correct to say that those are variables, and I think that we encounter those experiences. Additionally, we encountered experiences where one of the children in DCFS custody could be a victim and potentially a perpetrator. So we include legal representation when we believe that is the case, and so we offer both the child, an attorney, as well as having prosecuting attorneys involved with the interviews. It is a complicated decision. I think it's case by case, and it depends on the conditions of the case.
I would just second what David said, and that we work hand in hand with the legal system. So the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office is an active member of our leadership team and part of our case review. And we really do all adhere to the child first concept, where we put the child first. And so what we really try to do is keep the child in the safest place they can. And if that's with family, that's great. We don't ever want the kids to have to be removed or for the parents to have to be in jail, but if they are, we also wrap around and provide services. So we have a case manager, we have victim advocates, we have mental health providers, and we also have an array of community partners that we partner with through the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center, Frontline Service, and all of their trauma programs to specifically work with kids when they've got parents that are both incarcerated. Frontline Service has a Children of Incarcerated Parents program that we refer to in those situations.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Any other questions from my colleagues? Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And just, this is some heavy-duty stuff from what I'm seeing, and a little bit disheartening, but also seeing the efforts that are put forward by this group in this program. It's hopeful. It's going to have a significant impact. I just have just with your presentation, you said there was 12,289 phone calls and 58% were child abuse. This is more functionality. How many of those, how much effort is in the screening of it? How many have to go here and there? Because I can see a lot of times the initial input of a call could be which way we have to go with it. And that could be a significant amount of time that may not be part of this request, full context of it.
Just let me speak to the numbers. Actually, there are over 40,000, nearly 50,000 calls.
This is the
comes into DCFS, comes into the hotline. About 12,000 of those are screened in. They end up being calls that we investigate, and 58% of those are physical abuse.
Yeah.
So the volume is significant. It's probably 100, 150 calls a day coming into DCFS. Many of those are screened in and require an additional investigation. When the case is open and it appears that there is either sex abuse or it appears there's one of the cases that would require an interview with the child protection team is when we engage with Canopy.
Yeah, through the chair, I read it the way I did, but your explanation is much clearer to me now, and it's just, those are overwhelming numbers, and continue and let us know how we can help in the future. Thank you.
All right, is there anything else, anything further, any other comment? I just wanted to let this is just today is a fiscal appropriation, and we still have the contract that must come before us. We are working out, there are recommendations from this committee that has been provided to the administration in regards to the contractual part. So here, Levine will send that out to the committee members today via email, so you'll know where our train of thoughts are. And currently, for now, I know I heard second reading suspension. Can someone make a motion to move this to the full council under second reading suspension?
Madam Chair, I so move and would like my name added, please. Thank you.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved by Miller, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and please add Councilman Miller's name as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 2022-0389, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various municipalities and providers for various services for the Community Social Services Program for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to change the terms and scope of services for the original 27 providers, to add 7 providers effective July 1st, 2022, and add additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $939,854.76, and to remove Eliza Bryant Village effective August 31st, 2022.
Madam Chair, I'm going to invite Marcos Cortez from their Division of Contract Administration and Performance, and Natasha Petricola, the Interim Director of DSAS, to come forward and present this item. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good
Marcos
afternoon.
Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Senior and Adult Services. Again, DSAS is requesting approval and amendment to a master contract for the Community Social Services Program. There are several different things going on with this contract amendment. First, we're adding some language to allow easier processing of any future amendments. Second, we are changing the eligibility verification for the disability determination. Third, we are making a rate change for transportation for one vendor. Fourth, we are adding 4 new vendors: Ashbury Senior Computer Center, Fairhill Partners, Simply Virtual, doing business as Barton Senior Center, and the Greater Cleveland Neighborhood Center for our digital literacy component. Fifth, we are adding 3 new vendors from an RFP that we reissued earlier this year, and that is Parma Heights, Phyllis Wheatley, and Jennings Center. And 6th, and unfortunately, we are eliminating Eliza Bryant Village as a provider. In the end, we'll have 33 vendors as a part of this master. These master contracts are a big lift for my office. Each contract has to be amended. Each contract entry and info has to be updated, and it can take some time to get all of our ducks in a row. So with that, we have an amendment to this resolution. Fairhill Partners should have been $50,000 instead of the 20 that is written on the agenda. So we request that item B, number 29, Fairhill Partners, be approved as amended with the corrected amount. We have representatives from several providers here. We won't bring up all 33 providers because of the time crunch, but we have several representatives here. Wanda Davies from Ashbury, representing the digital literacy component, Rochelle Rosa from Jennings, and Laura Kleinman from Senior Transportation Connect, as well as Director Petricola and some of her staff who can answer more specifically questions related to the programs.
Okay, so we'll take a moment to make a motion to amend item BB so it can reflect correctly in the agenda before we move the whole contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Conwell, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is a correction for the amendment only. And you may proceed.
You have any specific questions on the program itself?
I just had one initial in regards to Eliza Bryant. So when someone gets out of a master contract, the money is, because we don't know when they get out, the funding is still there. We've appropriated and passed the funding. What is that utilized for? Is it utilized for some of the other vendors or?
So the main purpose of doing a master agreement is we can move money within that contract. So if there are needs for other vendors, we can utilize those funds for those vendors as needed.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Miller?
You mentioned in your opening presentation that this legislation includes language to provide for easier processing of amendments in the future. Could you provide some additional detail of how the process is being changed?
So normally when we do a master and we do any amendments to that, we have to have every vendor sign on to that. So that can, as you said, 33 vendors, it takes a lot. There are a lot of documents, at least 10 per vendor that has to be gathered, reviewed, and then uploaded. This, as long as it doesn't change the overall value of the contract and it's not changing any scope of services for the overall amendment or overall contract, and it's only impacting one vendor, we can just modify that, amend that vendor's contract specifically. So it would only be one amendment for one vendor.
Understood. That is an improvement.
All right. Continue, please.
Natasha Petrocola, I just wanted to mention, going along the lines of decertifying the Eliza Bryant contract for Adult Day, we had two providers. Eliza Bryant was one of those. The other one was the Rose Center, both of which no longer provide the Adult Day. So that was why reappropriated dollars towards Jennings Center to provide some of that service that no longer will be provided by the other two vendors, just for clarification in case you were curious about that.
This contract is about the meals and all that. So just on a side note, I didn't look at all the vendors. I never do. It's quite a bit. Was the Fatima Family Center in there?
And there, yes, most of these are for either meals, transportation, and then the one for the Adult Day. I'm looking real quick to see if Fatima was included in that. I believe we did do an amendment for them, but I'm not sure if it was listed on this or previously, Mark.
All vendors would be listed on.
Okay.
Okay. So was there an amendment? I know they reached out to you in terms of, I can't remember what specific service they weren't
Looking
receiving
for
before.
transportation,
Okay.
exactly. So
Right.
that was referring to when Eliza Bryant was transitioning out of some of the services they were delivered, and we are kind of aware of what's happened there. So we did reach out directly to Fatima, and they stated that they were able to find a solution where a lot of the people that were utilizing Eliza Bryant had family and other members that were able to provide that transportation. So they're very close in proximity, and so that was addressed. Just so you know, we talked to Legine personally on those.
Yeah, I know
specific
we
clients.
talked about that, but I was just
Exactly.
wondering, going forward, did they want to, when the contract came out again, were they gonna move forward with getting,
They
going
could
for
have that
transport?
option definitely when we renew these contracts, but at
Okay.
this point, she said it wasn't necessary
Okay,
for those
all
clients.
right, just wanted to make sure. All right, anything else for any of the, okay, anything else, Director?
Nothing else unless any of the providers wanted to come up and speak personally about utilization of these dollars for the clients we're serving. Again, these are all for seniors and those that are disabled adults to help with a variety of things to access in the community so that, you know, they can remain independent. Obviously, digital literacy has come really into play because of social isolation, the results of the pandemic. So it's really getting people up to par about using digital literacy to effectively participate in programming and other kinds of resources that they may not have been knowledgeable in the past. And then the rest are obvious, you know, the transportation, the food, insecurity concerns, and just the Adult Day.
I guess my concern, or not a concern, but just my thought or statement I'd like to make in terms of when you have the master contracts, they're wonderful in so many ways, but then there's some hangups and issues that happen as well. So in going forward, I just wanted to say publicly, is there, so you said 33 vendors, Mr. Cortez, in this particular one. I know sometimes it's on our end, but when it comes down to if a vendor didn't get their paperwork in, are we currently holding up for them at this time? Or is there some way that we put in that it's a deadline and that we have to move forward because it impacts so many other?
Usually, we just hold until we can get everyone's documents in. There have been some cases where we'll amend if that, and then add that vendor amendment later, like for our out-of-home care, boarding care contract, we're regularly adding vendors via amendment to that one. And so we go with what we have at the moment, but usually we hold them until we can get everything in.
Okay, the only reason my main concern is that I've heard from some vendors that do get their stuff in on a timely basis. It impacts their bottom line because they are a small agency. So I always want to stress that to everyone that's in a master contract, that they need to try to get their paperwork in. And if that is, and I know we're all dealing with labor shortages all over the country, but if you're having issues, you're always welcome to reach out to this committee to try and expedite any of those things, but these master contracts really have to be done on time. Okay. All right, so we will pass it. And Is this a request for second reading suspension?
Unfortunately, the funding for the new providers are coming out of ARPA dollars, so I don't believe we can do second reading suspension.
You don't need it.
Well, I thought we needed 3 full readings with ARPA
Oh,
dollars.
you have ARPA in here? I didn't
Yes.
see. I didn't see that wording in the contract. So, okay, so can we have someone make a motion to R2022-039 to the full committee under second reading?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Sweeney, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Resolution 2022-0390, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Young Women's Christian Association of Greater Cleveland for emergency shelter services for single adult women at the Norma Hare Women's Shelter located at 2227 Payne Avenue, Cleveland, for the period January 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $917,264.
Madam Clerk, if you could please add my name to the last item. Thank you. Thank you, David. Welcome. Last one, I think.
Last one. I don't know if there's another committee at 3, so we'll talk quickly. So,
Yes.
David Merriman, Director of
You
Health and
see me,
Human
I'm on.
Services. We're moving. I'm going to turn it over to Melissa Serac in a minute here, but I do want to just acknowledge on this item, this is, there was a delay in making this award, so I think we will be asking for second reading passage. And just acknowledging I don't believe there's any ARPA dollars in this, and so it's critical that we move this forward. But let me invite Melissa to come
Second
forward and
reading
present the item.
suspension?
Second reading suspension. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council. Melissa Serac with the Office of Homeless Services, requesting the approval of an amendment to the contract with Young Women's Christian Association, doing business as the YWCA, to extend the term and add additional funds. The YWCA of Greater Cleveland operates Norma Hare Women's Center 24 hours a day, 365 days per year. Outside of pandemic distancing requirements, the shelter can accommodate up to 226 people in 172 regular beds and 54 overflow beds or mats. All services provided by Norma Hare Women's Center are aimed at providing safe and dignified shelter, removing housing barriers, and engaging participants. The YWCA of Greater Cleveland continues to provide services included but not limited to the following: individual crisis counseling to support women in achieving their goals, provision of basic needs such as hygiene products, clothing, and meals, individual and systems level support in overcoming the effects of mental illness, trauma, and substance abuse, and immediate access to shelter and case management. The funding in this amendment is the remaining funding we have allocated for this provider in our 2022 budget. We completed an 8-month amendment with the expectation that we would release OHS's master RFP for new contracts to start on 9/1/2022. This did take longer than expected to issue the RFP, partly due to the complete redesign that our office did in working with consultants for the RFP to include a race equity component that aligns with OHS's strategic plan on behalf of the homeless continuum of care. At this time, we've met with the provider to review their budget for this amendment and the spend down plan and determined that this funding is necessary to ensure continuous service for the emergency women's shelter for the remainder of the year, thus asking for the second suspension request. With me today, I do have Cynthia Daly and Matt Bukowski from the YWCA to answer any additional programmatic questions. I'd ask them to join me at this time.
I'd like to open it up to any of my colleagues to ask any questions. Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, Melissa. Thanks for coming up here. I'm just, the elephant in the room, it's Lou, what's happening, 2 different stories we hear, and I want to understand a little bit. So we're
Okay,
talking, I mean,
so
that's
just
the
to-
heavy duty one.
Yeah, just to let you know, I think Ms. Lou's, if I'm remembering correctly from her earlier public comment, was based on the repairs. And the repairs are currently under Eden directs and repairs anything that has to do with Norma.
Absolutely. I'm not cold cocky. I'm not intending to. but I've been here for 2 years, and I'm trying to understand what's the reality over there. I have not taken the time to take the tour, and I feel bad. And I'm going to get over there to try to understand it, because we have a constituent sharing some thoughts with us. The YMCA, the WYMCA, they're extraordinarily beneficial and helpful for centuries. But I just really am calling a question for my own.
So Councilman Sweeney, what we've done in the past, we have citizens that are currently staying at the Norma Hare or 2100 that come before us and give public comment. We are very strategic in hearing their concerns. We like them to be, that lets us know, gives us kind of eye into the window of what happens there. And our staff along the way, they write those down. We get on those right away. They're their concerns that they bring forth. And if there is anything, once we circumvent and do our investigation, we reach out to Director Sirac, and if it's directly with the YWCA, we have those conversations to kind of find out the truth in the middle, or if not necessarily that it's an untruth, but Ms. Lou might be presenting, and Eden might be planning on fixing or have that already concern addressed. It just hasn't funneled to them. So we try to
I'm going to
sidetrack these
acquiesce
things.
to my
quick.
chairwoman and continue
You're fine. We just got to get out of here on time. But if you could please address for Councilman Sweeney, I just wanted to give you some historical of how we take care of all these issues. We do listen to Miss Lou, and we appreciate.
Yeah, I'm, the reason I jump on this right now, I met Ms. Lou 2 years ago. Other folks have brought to my attention, and I have not taken the time to schedule an opportunity to go through. We had a couple scheduled, and there was miscommunication, something had to be canceled, I had to cancel, and it's continuing. This is the first piece of legislation that I have the privilege of considering at this time, so I just jumped on it to say, I got to get over there if I do. But hearing from folks, I just want to make sure that I know our tax dollars are a great investment into the YWMCA, but I just want to make sure it's being maximized over there for the folks that have a tough portion of their lives in transition. So I'll chill for a minute, and I can't thank you. I just went a little wacky here right now, but that's all right. You'll get that once in a while.
Quickly
Yeah,
add, Madam Chair, may I just add one comment, just to add to your sentiments? Eden, as the operator, I think we have recognized for years in the community, and Eden as well, we want the feedback of the residents currently residing at the shelter. Eden is extremely responsive, working through the channels, as Councilwoman Conwell mentioned, and communicating and addressing the needs. It is not an ideal space, and I think the investment that you see forthcoming, both on the behalf of Cuyahoga County and the city of Cleveland, is a transformation of our system that has existed, and looking to be a more humane and dignifying space. We're looking at both of our shelters, 2100 and Norma Hare, for that reason. So Eden, as a provider, has gone above and beyond, and I'd be happy to catch you up on where they're at in that process for renovations as the facility owner, as opposed to the operator, in securing an additional space so that we can transform the shelter and make it better for the residents residing there.
And thank you. Eden is the
Eden owns the facility, and the YWCA operates the shelter. Yes.
Okay, I'm just, one of these days I want to be able to set up a time so I can take a look at it firsthand, like I've made a commitment to.
Absolutely.
Continue trying to work together to try to make it the best space possible.
And I think it's important to note as well that the residents will be included in that process. We're nearing that soon. So we want the feedback and want to address their concerns.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Miller, I just wanted to make a comment to Councilman Sweeney, our colleague. Not my intention to censor anything that you want to ever say. I just felt that was a time to, because you're still kind of new, to give you the background that's how HHS department addresses the public comment, and I can only speak to the HHS. All right, Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, Director, how long has it been now since YWCA took over the operational contract?
Madam Chair, to the councilman, I believe 2017. So this was our first, the master RFP would be the first procurement from that time.
And Madam Chair, Director, since that time, what improvements have you noted in the operation of the facility, and what challenges remain?
Councilman, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, right. I was like,
I think overall, just generalities. The facility, as I mentioned, has always been an issue. I think we've recognized that. Again, Eden has been extremely responsive. I would say that the pandemic has definitely challenged the operations of all shelters and all of our systems in a way that we would have never imagined. We have a challenge in housing individuals, meeting immediate needs of the ladies coming in, such as mental health and addiction. And I'd say an improvement that I've seen over the last several years is looking to ensure that we're linking those ladies to mental health services. The YWCA also has expanded their clinical team. However, we still, as we look forward, we struggle with housing and ensuring that individuals are moving from unhoused to housed as expediently as possible. Those are just a few that I'd mention.
So, Madam Chair, Director, I ask mostly easy questions, but not entirely.
all right.
Dale smirk.
That's it.
That's it. All right. I think, Director Sirak, if you can, is it about 5% or is it less of the women at Norma Her that choose not to make that move to housing? Is there a percentage of those individual clients or guests? I know we have some. I just don't know what the percentage is.
Cynthia Daly from the YWCA. Yes, I believe the percentage between 5 to 8% of the women don't have any movement.
Okay. So they're not actively working on mental health?
Yeah, and that's
or-
mostly due to mental health itself being the barrier to being able to make that movement.
Okay. And I know that the center has made adjustments trying to edge, or get the women to move on and get assistance, because we always have, new people coming in. So we need to keep, right, and we need to keep that. This is emergency shelter. So any other further questions or comments or concerns? We can be on time. I'll make a motion to move R2022-0390 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sweeney. He put his thumb up. He didn't say
I was pointing
anything.
to her, she got it.
Oh, you were pointing to her. I was going to
Thank
say
you,
what
sir.
you did. All right. Moved by Conwell, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming this afternoon. It was a long one. Any miscellaneous business from my colleagues? Seeing none, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.